In my book, compared to what I'm about to tell you in a second, I just don't think it's the best supplement to take for your glucose levels. To me, it's not enough effect, there's a lot of drawbacks, and it's way too many pills. I don't want to take 8 pills a day, so I just like, no. Hello angels and welcome back to the Glucose Goddess Show. My name is Jessie Introspé. I'm a French biochemist obsessed with helping you understand your body and your health. And most of my work centers around glucose levels, blood sugar levels. I've discovered over the years that glucose spikes can lead to many consequences and symptoms, and that keeping our glucose levels nice and steady is the foundation of physical and mental health. So today, I want to walk you through the science of natural supplements that can, or maybe cannot, help us with our glucose levels. So I'm going to show you all the supplements I do not take and why I've decided to not take them based on their science. And then I will show you the specific supplement stack or the supplement formula that I've designed that I take every single day to help my glucose levels. And if I could only take one of these supplements for the rest of my life, I will show you which one that is. So let's get into it. We're going to go through a few plant molecules that I've added to my routine. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about the things that I do not take and why I do not take them. So one of my core glucose hacks is to have vinegar before eating food, because just a tablespoon of regular old vinegar can significantly cut the glucose spike of a meal. Now, unfortunately, vinegar capsules I do not take. There's a study, I'm going to explain, there's a study called A Comparison of Liquid Vinegar and Commercial Vinegar Pills for Managing Insulin Resistance and Postprandial Glucose Concentrations. So this study showed us that while the liquid vinegar works, the capsulated form of the vinegar does not seem to work. It actually seems to make insulin resistance worse, when liquid vinegar makes insulin resistance better. This is the main good study we have on this. It's not a lot, but the evidence is just not sufficient to tell us that an acetic acid or a vinegar capsule could have the same effect as regular vinegar. So I do not take vinegar capsules. I do not recommend vinegar capsules just because we don't have enough evidence to see if they work, and the very little evidence that we have today points to the fact that they do not work. So the vinegar hack only works with regular vinegar. Always dilute it in water before you drink it if you have before a meal, or you can also have a tablespoon of vinegar on your veggie starter. Second thing on the topic of vinegar gummies. No, do not take vinegar gummies. Why? Because vinegar gummies contain sugar. The ones that you chew, the red ones that everybody's taking, they're not a good idea because they're full of sugar. So not only do we not have good evidence that vinegar not in liquid form actually works at all, vinegar gummies have added sugar in them, making your glucose levels worse. So vinegar gummies are pure marketing, they do not work. Here's an example of having bread on its own versus these supposedly vinegar gummies and the same slice of bread. As you can see, no difference, and even a slight increase in the glucose spike with the vinegar gummies, which is not surprising considering that 1 or 2 of these gummies contains 1 whole gram of sugar, which is a lot. So vinegar capsules and vinegar gummies, I do not take. Best case scenario, they don't work. Worst case scenario, which I think is what's going on, they're actually not good for you. Let's talk about fiber pills. So one of my hacks is to have veggies at the beginning of a meal. And this helps reduce the glucose spike of our meal because the fiber in the veggies creates this protective mesh in our intestine that stays in place and protects us from too many glucose spikes afterwards. So I often get the question, well, could I just take some fiber pills instead? Technically you could. The only issue I see with fiber pills is that you need to take a lot of them to be able to get the same impact you would get from like a cup of broccoli. So for example, if we look at psyllium husk capsules, which are the most common way you get fiber in a capsule, you would need to take 6 capsules before a meal to get the same amount of fiber as in 1 cup of broccoli. So if you want to take 6 capsules of fiber before a meal, up to you, They probably don't have huge side effects, although some people report bloating and gas when they take too many fiber capsules. It's just not a very good trade-off to have 6 capsules of something to get the same amount of fiber as in a cup of broccoli. And if you want something to take before a meal to reduce the spike, that works way better than fiber capsules. We'll get to that in a moment. But in the meantime, this is why I don't take fiber capsules. There's not enough bang for your buck in them. It's just way too many capsules, not so big of an effect. Next supplement, bitter melon. This is a very popular one. I've gotten many questions about it. And the main study I would point you to is called The Effect of Bitter Melon in Patients with Diabetes, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. So these are scientists looking at all of the studies done on bitter melon and looking at the impact on glucose levels. Here's what they found. The scientists they concluded that supplementing with bitter melon for 4 to 12 weeks did not significantly lower HbA1c or blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes compared to placebo. So this big review study showed no effects from bitter melon. A next review that came out a bit later is called Effectiveness and Safety of Ayurvedic Medicines in Type 2 Diabetes, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. So in this study, they looked at lots of different plants, including bitter melon, and here they did see a small improvement. They found that bitter melon slightly reduces HbA1c by 0.3%. So slight improvement in your glucose levels, in HbA1c, which is a key marker of diabetes, for example. But in my opinion, this is not enough to justify taking a supplement every single day, even if this small improvement in HbA1c is actually happening. Next one, Berberine. This is also a very popular supplement to take to help with glucose levels. So the main study I would draw upon here is called Efficacy and Safety of Berberine Alone for Several Metabolic Disorders, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis of Randomized Clinical Trials. So after 2 months of 2 grams of berberine daily, that's about 8 to 10 pills every single day of berberine, the scientists did see an effect, an improvement in fasting glucose levels. So berberine does seem to work, and it's quite cheap. But berberine has a few drawbacks I just want to call your attention to, and that are the reason that I don't take it as my main glucose helper supplement. First drawback, you have to take many pills every single day, about 8 pills every single day, which is a lot of pills, and I don't like taking a lot of pills, so it's 8 pills every single day. Second drawback, you have to wait 2 months to see an effect on your fasting glucose levels, so you really have to be in it for the long game. Third drawback, it has no impact on the glucose spike of a meal. So when we eat a meal that's high in carbs or sugars, let's say a big bowl of pasta, for example, this can create a glucose spike in your body if you're giving your body too much starch too quickly. And the pasta, the starch, turns to glucose as we digest it, and this creates a glucose spike. Small glucose spikes are totally normal, but big repeated glucose spikes cause issues, from very simple things like cravings and fatigues and brain fog to increasing the risk of long-term chronic illnesses. So while berberine helps overall with fasting glucose level decrease after 2 months, it has no effect on the glucose spike of an immediate meal, which is really what I'm after in a supplement that helps my glucose levels. I want something that's going to help me reduce the spike of that spaghetti when I need it. And final drawback of berberine, you might not be aware of this, but actually the high dose that is required could potentially cause some side effects, and it's not completely agreed upon in different agencies whether high doses of berberine for a long time are completely safe. For example, ANSES and EFSA, which are 2 big health agencies, they still haven't said that high doses of berberine are safe in the long run, and the jury is still out. They're still looking at the data, but they ask us to use berberine with caution. So those are the main 4 drawbacks, and even though berberine has a really good reputation, in my book, compared to what I'm about to tell you in a second, I just don't think it's the best supplement to take for your glucose levels. To me, it's not enough effect, there's a lot of drawbacks, and it's way too many pills. I don't want to take 8 pills a day, so I just no. Okay, so now time to tell you about the 2 amazing plant molecules that I discovered during this research that are the ones that I take every single day. The first one is mulberry leaf extract. So we're talking about the leaves from the beautiful mulberry trees. They contain a molecule called DNJ, which is incredibly powerful and helpful for our glucose spikes. A great study that taught me a lot about mulberry leaf is called Effect of Mulberry Leaf or Mulberry Leaf Extract on Glycemic Traits, a systematic review and meta-analysis. So in this review, scientists looked at 12 clinical trials done on over 600 people, all randomized control trials, which are like the best, highest quality trial you can do when you're testing a supplement. And the scientists in this review study explained the impact of mulberry leaf extract on our glucose spikes. So, interestingly, mulberry leaf has been used for a very long time in Chinese medicine, and today scientists understand the amazing impact that it has on our glucose spikes. So how does it work exactly? So you take mulberry leaf extract right before you eat. And DNJ, that special molecule in mulberry leaf extract, then goes and interacts with these little enzymes that you have in your stomach and your intestine. They're called alpha glycosidase. Now, alpha glycosidase's job is to break down the starches you're eating into individual glucose molecules so that they go from your digestive tract into your bloodstream. DNJ goes to alpha glycosidase and is like, hey girl, take a chill pill. Just chill out for a second. You don't have to work so hard. So as a consequence, DNJ slows down how quickly starches are turned into individual glucose molecules in our body. And this may sound familiar because this concept of slowing down the arrival of glucose in our body is specifically what all of my glucose hacks do. They allow you to absorb glucose more slowly, therefore reducing your glucose spike. So with the proper dose of DNJ before a meal, you can cut the glucose absorption of your meal by up to 40%. DNJ, by the interaction it has with alpha glycosidase, slows down starch breakdown, but it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't touch proteins, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, nothing. All it does is slowing down starch breakdown. And DNJ also slows down the breakdown of other sugars like maltose, sucrose, fructose, lactose. But the main effect it has is on starches. And I think this is just so cool and so amazing that a molecule from good old mulberry leaf has this impact. So in terms of precise numbers of what actually happens and how much the glucose spike of a meal can be reduced by, the study that shows us this is called Mulberry Leaf Extract Improves Glycemic Response and Insulinemic Response to Sucrose in Healthy Subjects, Results of a Randomized, Double-Blind, Placebo-Controlled Study. So in this study, the subjects took 250 milligrams of mulberry leaf extract, which is, and remember this, the clinical dose. The scientists found that this reduced the glucose spike of that meal by up to 40%, as well as reducing the insulin spike of that meal by up to 40%. Now, the reason this is important is because you could reduce the glucose spike of a meal by increasing insulin levels, but this has a whole host of negative consequences. We don't want our insulin levels to increase too much. And with DNJ from mulberry leaf, you're getting both great things, the reduction in glucose levels and in insulin levels. So here's an example of using 250 milligrams of mulberry leaf extract on a bagel. As you can see, without the mulberry leaf, bigger spike, with the mulberry leaf, smaller spike. The evidence is clear. This amazing molecule is incredibly powerful at reducing our glucose spikes. It is way more powerful than vinegar, and there's nothing else that comes close to being able to have that immediate effect on the glucose spike of a meal. Now, what does this concretely do when you reduce the glucose spike of a meal? The immediate effects it has is on cravings. You no longer feel the urge to eat sugar after that meal because with a smaller spike, you also have a smaller dip. And studies show us that with a smaller dip, you have fewer cravings and hunger comes back more slowly. You're helping your hunger hormones. You also have better energy and less inflammation because big glucose spikes and dips increase both inflammation and make you tired, and we don't want that. Now, what happens long term? That's the short-term effect of mulberry leaf. But another thing I'm really excited about is what happens long term when you take it every single day. And now I'm going to look at the study I mentioned earlier, the meta-analysis, so effect of mulberry leaf or mulberry leaf extract on glycemic traits, a systematic review and meta-analysis. So after 2 months of 250 milligrams of mulberry leaf a day, we see a fasting blood glucose reduction by 8 milligrams per deciliter, which is equivalent to 0.47 millimoles per liter if you're in a different unit. Also, reduction in HbA1c of almost 3 millimoles per moles, which is massive, and a reduction in fasting insulin levels of 0.58 microunits per milliliter. So because of all this amazing evidence and the impact both on the short-term glucose spike of a meal and the long-term indicators of glucose health, mulberry leaf extract is the #1 thing that I take every single day. And mulberry leaf extract is one of the 2 main hero natural molecules that I've put in anti-spike. Anti-spike formula, this is my supplement. I've formulated this whole thing myself based on the most recent studies showing us which natural plant molecules are actually the best to take if you want to help your glucose levels. So in anti-spike, I have a very high potency, high quality extract of mulberry leaf, and importantly, there is 250 milligrams of it in each daily dose. Because if you see in a study that 250 milligrams of mulberry leaf works, if you only take 10 milligrams, it's not gonna work. You have to make sure when you take a supplement that the dose in the supplement is the same dose as what the clinical trials have shown works. So that's super key. So in this little guy, you get 250 milligrams of mulberry leaf extract per day. So a common question I get is, can I have a mulberry leaf tea instead? Now, of course, you can have mulberry leaf tea if you want. There's no problem with that. But if you're looking for the clinical sufficient amount of that molecule, DNJ, a cup of mulberry leaf tea is not going to give you enough. So no, the answer is no, mulberry leaf tea is not going to have the same effect as the mulberry leaf extract that I've put in anti-spike formula at the right clinical dose. Now, second plant molecule that I want to discuss that I've added to my daily routine that is really exciting and works in a very different way to DNJ, but that is super powerful and you have to know about. This second molecule comes from lemons, and it's actually the molecule in lemons that makes lemons yellow. And this molecule is called Eriocitrin. Now, Eriocitrin acts on these tiny little cells called L cells that we have lining our digestive tract. And the purpose of these L cells is just to hang around and to sense when we've eaten food. And as soon as they sense that we've eaten food, they produce a substance called GLP-1. I have an entire episode on GLP-1 because it's fascinating. But basically what you need to know is that GLP-1 is a natural substance we have in our bodies all the time. And GLP-1 helps us regulate our appetite, and it helps us regulate and improve our glucose levels. So what's the link with this Eriocitrin, this molecule that makes lemons yellow? Well, studies such as natural Eriocitrin reduces hyperglycemia by increasing GLP-1 and down-regulating systemic inflammation, a crossover randomized clinical trial. So what does it actually do? What's the point? Eriocitrin helps your L cells produce more GLP-1. And if you supplement with 200 milligrams of Eriocitrin for 3 months, you get up to 17% more production of GLP-1 by your L cells. And this is great for several reasons. The first one is you have fewer cravings, appetite regulates also, but importantly, this has an impact on your glucose levels. It helps your glucose levels be healthier because with higher GLP-1 levels, we have healthier glucose levels because GLP-1 tells our body to store away more of the extra glucose that we eat. So GLP-1 is all the rage these days, and I have a whole episode on it if you're interested. But essentially, GLP-1 is a natural molecule that occurs in our body, and by having a little bit more of it, we help our health. There's even a study that was done on people with prediabetes. It is called Effectiveness of Iomine in Managing Hypoglycemia and Reversal of Prediabetes Condition, a double-blind, randomized, controlled study. So listen to this. In this study, 100 people with prediabetes, so on their way to type 2 diabetes, took 200 milligrams of this lemon substance every day, and 24% of the cases of prediabetes were completely reversed. So people who had their fasting glucose level in the prediabetes range were able to get their fasting glucose level to go down to the healthy range just by supplementing with 200 milligrams of Eriocitrin per day. And this was placebo-controlled, etc. This was a very high-quality study. Isn't that amazing? So I'm very excited about Eriocitrin. I think it's a very powerful way to reduce our glucose levels by acting on a different pathway than DNJ works. So a common question I get is, well, can I just drink lemon juice instead of taking the supplement? And again, kind of the same thing with the mulberry leaf tea. You can't get enough concentration of Eriocitrin in just lemon juice. You would have to drink 2 liters of lemon juice per day. Don't do that, but you would have to drink 2 liters of lemon juice per day to get 200 milligrams of the Eriocitrin that you need. So when we extract molecules from plants and concentrate them, we make our life much better because scientists are able to see, this specific molecule in the lemon is what is giving us the effect, so they extract just that, they concentrate it. So this combination of mulberry leaf extract and of Eriocitrin from lemons, to me, is the greatest combo ever made to help not only with your glucose spikes immediately, the effect is immediate, but also build up long-term, really positive benefits in your body. It is what I take every single day. I only take this combination, nothing else to help my glucose levels. And this is what I've put in anti-spike formula for you. So we have the clinical dose of the DNJ and of the Eriocitrin with really high quality extracts. You take 2 capsules a day. This gives you 250 milligrams of the mulberry leaf extract and 250 milligrams of the lemon extract. Very, very powerful molecules. And you feel the effect immediately on your cravings, your hunger, your energy, your bloating also, but also you're building long-term benefit for your fasting glucose levels, which is what we want, because healthy fasting glucose levels and keeping our levels healthy is the key to physical and mental health and healthy aging. In addition to these 2 molecules, in anti-spike, I've also added a high potency extract of cinnamon, equivalent to 1 whole gram of cinnamon, which is a very high concentration, very high extraction ratio, 12:1. This is helpful because cinnamon also has some long-term benefits on our glucose levels. And if that wasn't enough, I've also added a mix of veggie antioxidants into anti-spike to give you extra antioxidants, which are super helpful for so many aspects of our wellness. And we probably don't have enough of them every single day. So this formula to me is the only thing I take every single day. And if you want to complement the food hacks that I share with a supplement, to me, this is the only supplement you will ever need. Just take 2 capsules a day, amazing benefits, short-term and long-term. And think about this. This formula will give you more powerful effects than Berberine long-term with way fewer capsules than Berberine every single day. That's on your fasting glucose and fasting insulin. And it gives you immediate reduction in the glucose and insulin spike of a meal. It's so cool. This science got me very excited when I found it. And I have to say, originally supplements were not really part of my life. I try to keep my supplement regimen very, very low. I don't like taking a lot of capsules every single day. And I was always food first. And by the way, you should also be always food first. My food hacks, link in the description of this episode for my 10 food hacks, should be the core of your daily food habits. But if you want a supplement to help you, if you can't do the food hacks, if they're too difficult, if you need to go faster, this formula is for you. So in conclusion, you now know the supplements that I take every single day, which is just 2 capsules of anti-spike before the biggest meal of the day. I don't do bitter melon, I don't do berberine, I don't do vinegar capsules, etc. Just because to me they're not the most powerful thing. The most powerful things are mulberry leaf extract and this lemon polyphenol, and together they're like a super powerful couple. And truly, anti-spike has felt, for me in my own life, even though I've been doing the hacks for like very many years now, Adding anti-spike has helped me so much on my bloating, on my feeling of being full after a meal for longer, and it's just completely vanished my desire to eat random sweet stuff that I don't even really want to eat sometimes, but I just have a craving for them. So it's been a super powerful ally, and I'm really, really proud of it. And I hope you get to try it and enjoy it because it's truly, truly amazing. And now, to close off this episode, I will leave you with some video testimonials from people in the community who've tried anti-spike. And if you want to see thousands of testimonials from people, go to antispike.com. You can also click the link in the description of this episode to reach my website, where you'll see all the science, all the clinical trials you can look at, and the reviews from real people like you who've tried it and loved it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
This amazing formula is the real deal.
Anti-spike, it's truly changed my life for the best.
I no longer have sugar cravings.
I have way less mood swings.
I don't feel hungry every 2 hours.
I have less bloating than I had before.
My sleep is much better.
And cravings are no longer there.
It's become a great part of my daily routine.
8.0 to 5.2 with anti-spike.